Hello, hello. Welcome to the Quality Coding Stream. I'm your host, John Reed. And hello, Mud Shark. Always good to have you. So far, just you, as far as I can tell. Let me start pretending as if there were other people here, knowing that, in fact, people do watch these both on Twitch, like after the fact, as long as Twitch keeps the videos around, as well as on YouTube, where they stay around. The recording I put up sticks around as long as YouTube is up, I guess. But greetings to new people who may or may not join. We'll see. I can't start without sweeping aside like the human side of me and ignoring it, which I am currently kind of messed up. Like, I can't watch the news right now. I can't look at it. I'm starting to look a little bit, but if I see a headline or a photo, I'm like, nope. I'm referring specifically to the latest mass shooting of children in the United States. It's one of our hobbies. Ah, hello, Alfredo. Good to have you. And we have a first-time chat from Alex F. Slayer. Welcome. Alex, do say, like, if you don't mind, where in the world you are. It's always fun for me to see where folks are joining from. So the latest in America's hobby of killing children continues. I thought I would mention the standard headline that the Onion, the satire news site, shares, which is no way to stop this. No way to prevent this, says only nation where this happens regularly. So, yeah, that's on my mind, as well as other things going on. We did have someone join a couple times ago from the Ukraine. So, Alex, you're from Moldova. Wow. Welcome. So good to have you. Before we get going here on code, and I want to say that even though there are regulars who come by, I don't want to make any assumptions about like what you've seen me do so far, if ever. And feel free to ask questions about anything that you see or anything even that I'm not doing. Like, what is that thing, or why do you do that, or you know, what do I think of this or that? Please feel free to ask questions. I want to point out a new article. If you go to Industrial Logic Content blog, there is a new blog on discovery trees by my friend and fellow coach, Steve Kuo. I'll share this in the links here. So do check this out, because this is something you can share. If you've been watching me, you know I've been using this discovery trees more and more. And so this is something that you can share with your team or wherever, to say, you know, you don't have to watch John code for an hour. You can just go read this thing. So go check that out. Meanwhile, in our discovery tree, where are we? Starting from the top down, to give some context for anyone who's watching for the first time, we're working on ViewController Presentation Spy, an open source testing helper that I've written. The goal is to provide a Swift package manager version of it. To get there, I need to convert to one language. Right now it's mixed languages, and unfortunately Swift package manager says it's got to be either Objective-C or Swift. So converting to Swift, there are 3 verifiers. And here's one thing I realized about these. These other 2 are probably really trivial. I think we're almost done with this. Because as far as I can remember, the only thing these check is whether something was presented, or when a view controller is presented and when a view controller is dismissed, and that's all. The alert verifier has to do a whole lot more. So I think we're almost done. I shouldn't jinx it like that, should I? So we're working on the alert verifier, working on converting the alert parts of a UI, excuse me, UI view controller swizzling. And in here, there's a bunch of stuff we've done. We are ready, I think, to mark this as, wait, this is remove 2. We did that. I'm positive we did that. So I'm going to mark this as done, and this is the next thing. Let's go. Actually present capturing the alert. And both in the tree and in code in general, I want to continue to lean in more and more into doing small steps and making my steps smaller, 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 smaller. Micro changes with micro commits, because this is all this happens to be a refactoring, an unusual one, because I'm going from one language to another. But it is a refactoring nonetheless, because we can run the tests and find out if we are successful. So UI view controller present capturing the alert. Let's go into the EAP, the latest app code. I can never remember what EAP stands for. It's their beta. And let's start as usual by running tests. Whoa! The heck? Oh no, I didn't check this. Well, I've seen this problem before, and when I've seen it, it's gone away by rebooting, which is nasty. Let me try to restart app code. So, step 1, make sure you can run tests. Let's give it a go. Okay. And I should have started up the simulator, but there it is. It's done. Okay, phew. Whew, problems averted. The tests ran nice and fast, as you can see. Actually, that wasn't so fast because it was building and then it started up the simulator. But now if I run them, boink, they're done. Super fast. All right, let's go to UI view controller. We are working on, getting some errors here. I think I've already submitted this one. I don't know. I can't remember if I've submitted this one. Argument for not null. I'm just going to try to remember this, but in the meantime, it's a bug. So I can say, file that bug. Great. And we are working on UI ViewController alert parts. Here we are. Here it is, the present capturing the alert. I'm pretty sure that's what I meant. Yep, present capturing alert. Okay, so this is what I want to rewrite into Swift. Here we go. What does this do? Let's just have a quick look. It checks if it's not an alert, then don't do this, whatever is happening. It only captures alerts. It loads the view if needed. That's interesting. There are reasons for all these things, I'm sure. And it uses stuff. It uses the a notification. Alex, they totally should pay me. I get 0 from them. You know what I would like? If anyone from JetBrains is watching, could you send me a new app code sticker? I've got my lovely new M1 laptop and I don't have a sticker. And I want a sticker. I'm advertising your stuff. Come on. So what this does is oh, interesting. This is something I had to do for closures, is I had to make this closure container thing. Where is this? Okay, so this is already Swift. So that's fine. And it had to be Swift in order to capture a Swift closure, but still give access to it. It's basically a wrapper for a closure so that Objective-C doesn't freak out. And then it posts a notification, which is an odd way, but it worked for me to communicate to the thing doing the recording. Hey, we're showing this stuff, like we're presenting an alert without actually presenting the alert. It just captures the information. So there's a fair amount in here, and I want to try to see if I can figure out how to move in smaller steps. Let's go back to our board, our tree. Because there are a few steps that are becoming normal, which I haven't necessarily. I think last time was the first time I actually broke them out on the tree. So let's do that again. I want to lay down or write the Swift version. Nothing calling it yet. That's going to be a step. Just come on. Let's get this here and that there and like that. All right, so that's one thing. Once it's successful, then we're going to switch to switch to calling it. This is version 2. Because the old version is still there. Ah, hang on. This tree's these arrows or these lines are a little harder to work with than straight lines, but I kind of like how it looks. So we switch over, and then as we can see above, remove the old we remove the old one, and then we rename remove to from method name. So in here, we've got we currently have the old version. I'm going to lay down a new version with this, which is going to use the same name with 2 on the end of it, just so we can have them both. And then we switch over to it. Once everything is going to the new thing, we remove the old thing, and then we can rename the new thing. These are the steps of parallel change. Parallel change refactoring. Something like that. Hey, attach yourself. Attach yourself. Get all nice. All right, so those are the basic steps. Now, inside of here, I kind of wonder if there's not something I can do to break this into smaller pieces, because the code has several parts. It's fairly complicated. I'm not sure what to do, which direction to go. Do I want to rewrite this whole thing? That seems like a lot. Or do I like pull this out into Swift? Only that much. Let's try something different, right? This is more complicated than other ones that I remember. So let's try. It's going to be a little different, I think, than doing it quite like this. I'm going to leave these up here because this pattern is still good, but the actual way it rolls might come out a little different this time. All right, so we're going to start here. This is going to be in progress. And starting kind of from the bottom up, I think. I want to post a notification. Why bottom up? I'm not sure. I think it's because I'm staring at this guard clause and thinking, well, I don't want to move that into Swift yet. It's hard for me to explain why, but it feels better for me to start from the bottom and say, let's see if we can't make that part Swift. This is all an experiment. We'll see how it goes. So post notification is going to be one thing, making the closure container. Going to be another thing. And then the rest of it it looks pretty trivial. I think whatever's left. How about that? This is going to be our rough plan. Let's do it. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, let me try again with these arrows. With these connector lines. Say like this, like, hey, attach. Thank you. Do you talk to your code like I just did? In this case, to a board. I have a suspicion that's something most programmers do. You yell at your code. Well, maybe you don't yell at it, but you complain at it, don't you? All right, so here we go. Let's try. Let's see how this goes. Post notification. So step one, okay, let me get, I'm just trying to get really, really explicit about what I'm doing. That might be all we need. Write the Swift version and switch to it. There may not be a whole lot else going on. We'll see. It's a process of exploration. That's why this is called a discovery tree. And again, there's probably a cutoff of how small is too small. But I'm not going to worry about that right now. This is part of me treating this like a code kata. A kata is just a fancy word for an exercise. And an exercise is something you do to practice. Here's something. Let me go off on a tangent here for a second about deliberate practice. Practice is something that is very helpful in any field. If you, the most obvious analogy is to say sports or music. I resonate more with music than with sports. A musician doesn't get better by performing. The performance, or in the case of coding, the production of code, the work, doesn't make you a better coder. Well, maybe a little bit, but it's sort of by accident that you become a better coder by doing more and more work. Kind of like it would be an accident and not a very good musician who would get up and perform lousy and then get better over every performance. No, what you want to do is you practice. Practice. That doesn't guarantee that the performance will be great, but it does mean that when there's a deliberate intention to learn something, as opposed to I need to produce this thing for real, then you can focus on specific skills and improve those skills, just like in a sport. Let me take one. I'm not a sports geek, but let me just take something that I'm vaguely familiar with, basketball. You practice fundamentals like dribbling. When can you imagine that a superstar basketball player says, I don't practice dribbling anymore? Or a superstar musician says, I don't practice my scales? Or a superstar singer says, I don't warm up and practice the piece? Of course they do. They do all those things to make themselves better at that by concentrating specifically, intentionally on deliberate practice to improve one thing or another thing. And that's where a coach comes in, like me, to say, let's work on this thing. Or a musical coach will say, let's work specifically on this skill. Or a sports coach will say, let's work specifically on, say, passing. All you're going to do is pass the ball. These are things that are very important for you personally and for your company. And so I hope that your company creates enough slack for you to focus, to spend time investing in your skills, because that's not a waste for the company. The company wins from that. That's why Slack is called Slack. It is very much like muscle memory for the brain. In fact, it's not just, sometimes it is literally muscle memory, right? That I've gotten better at refactoring because I know bloop, bloop. In fact, if you ask me what keystrokes did I use, a lot of times I'm like, I don't know. I have to do it again and look down and see where my fingers are landing, because it comes out naturally and quickly. So it's like all those things. It's like dance. I imagine it's the same for all sorts of disciplines. So developers, work on yourselves. Companies, invest in your developers. Developers, if your company doesn't let you or frowns on you investing in your own skills, well, as the saying goes, you can change your job. That is, you can try to improve the place where you work and make it a better environment, or you can change your job. All right, that's enough of a rant on that. Let's get into writing the Swift version. I hope this is somewhat interesting. Oh, hello, there are more people who have joined. Welcome, welcome. Do say hi in the chat and where you're from. It's always good to know. Let's try to bring this over to this much over to Swift. In fact, why do I... Okay, I create the closure container. This may come out a little different. I think this is going to be interesting. And I don't think it's going to come out quite like the tree, and that's okay. Let's see if we have a UI ViewController.swift. We do. Okay, here's our extension. This is where we want to play. Let me just slap the Obj-C in here. All right, so we want something that does this. It takes some things and it posts and I think that the easiest way to do this, right, because this has several arguments, right? It's got this closure container, it's got the flag, it's passing in self, it's got the view controller to present, it's got the notification center. This is quite a bit. So I think that to write the Swift version, it will be easier if I extract this first. All right, I'm starting to see how that these lines look nice when you make them look nice, but that takes a little more fiddling instead of having, because I'm worrying about where the horizontal cutover is. So I don't know. I may switch back to straight lines. We'll see. It's not as pretty, but I want to go fast. All right, so let's extract this and see what happens. We've got foo. The view controller to present. How funny. How funny. Because there's no foo in here. And I think what we're seeing is that app code says, okay, I need this, I need to extract this, but I don't have a good name for it, which is kind of funny. We've got a flag. Let's see, what is this flag? Oh, it's the animated flag. Okay. We've got the view controller to present the animated flag. You know, I'm going to move these together because I make a notification center and then I call it right away. And it's just the default center. It's the singleton. So let's try extracting that. So that'll, there we go. And let's improve some of these names. This is something that at present Xcode doesn't let you do, which is have control over the argument names. WWDC is coming up. We'll see what they announce. All right, so with this, I've done an extract. What do I do next? Run tests. And within very short time, I have confirmation that that extraction is fine. I've switched to something else here. If you've watched me before, when I commit, it's come up as a panel on the side, which is sort of the new style that IntelliJ has gone to. And yet, this past week, I've tried switching back to say, you know what? No, instead of showing it in a panel, show me in a big dialog, mainly so that I don't have to keep hiding the panel when I move away from it. And maybe it's a little easier for me to actually review things. So that's the hope. Oh, what changed in here? Okay, I'm going to revert that because that's not the shape of what we're bringing over. There we go. Let's just extract this. Now, I'm also learning better about how to use Arlo's Git notation, which is a thing to annotate risk. There is semantic versioning. This is a popular way. It's very convoluted and it's hard to read. But you may have seen feature. Doesn't it have thing? Maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing. There is a commit naming style that's pretty popular where you say, is this a refactoring, a bug fix, or a feature? Arlo's commit notation is like that, except it's focused more. That's only one dimension. The more important dimension is how big is the risk. And I've been noting these as test-supported procedural refactorings, and it is supported by tests, but I did it through by leaning on app code to do the extraction for me. And it looks like this falls into the category of provable refactorings. Sometimes things break. Sometimes automated support doesn't work out. But I'm happy to say this is a provable refactoring, so it's lowercase with no exclamation points. The layers of risk are to say something is lowercase or uppercase. So low risk, more risk, even more risk, or broken. So this is low risk. This is extract the posting alert info. All right, so now I want to convert this to Swift. You see, what I've done is I'm trying to narrow it. I'm trying to narrow the changes. So here, this is where we will say, switch to calling it, and then remove the old and remove the, all these things will come in play over here. All right, so let's start writing the Swift version. Ah, there are even more folks who have joined. Welcome. By the way, I have a question. Since we're at about the number of folks who the max I usually have, but this is particularly aimed at the regulars. So, you know who you are. I'm starting to play with the idea of shifting this streaming back a half an hour or possibly a full hour earlier. And the reason is I noticed last time, I think it was, that somebody joined from India. And in India, like it's midnight. It's past midnight right now in India. And so I thought, oh, we can make it a little nicer for those folks. But that means it's a little earlier for you. For folks in, well, for Mudshark in Sweden, I think that would mean starting at 7 p.m. instead of 8. And I don't know how that sits with your evening dinner rituals. And I don't want to lose you. And then other folks, like if sometimes we get folks from the UK, not a problem, thank you. For the folks in the UK, it would be, I think, 6 p.m., which would, again, I don't want to cut into dinner time. But maybe we'll try that. Also, I'm Monday is a national holiday in the United States. So I'm probably going to have an extra session that day. I'll start with that as an experiment. We'll if you're interested in joining on Monday, since this is not wrapping up as quickly as one would think, because I'm going into details. Hey, Rick. So that's okay for you? Okay. Then let's try this as an experiment. And I say experiment because that's that's the agile way, is to try something, and then we'll get feedback from you, and as well as whether people are able to join who otherwise wouldn't, or if I lose some folks, and we'll see. All right, so let's plan on that. Okay, let's copy this over as we work on this. Here we go. This is going to be let me just start to bring this over. ViewController to present to. What does it return? Nothing. This is obviously not a good name. I'll just go like that. There. Just trying to get it back to green. ViewController to present. I'll revisit this naming. Animated. Flag is a bool. And closure container. We've run into our first problem. Is it called, I bet it's called something, it's just, there we go. It's just closure container in Swift. It's only for Objective-C that I add the prefix there. I should really ViewController to present. Okay, I'm not sure how this naming is going to map. Because this is one of the hardest parts of going between languages is the first argument is a ViewController, and then does, you know, the Swift side of things say, oh, well, so you don't need to say ViewController again. We'll see. Let's get there step by step. All right, and this is starting to build. I don't need to run tests because nothing's calling it. So I'm going to commit it. There's nothing calling it yet, but there's nothing confirming this yet. So I'm going to say this is a risky change. Laying down just an empty shell. All right, and now let's get the notification center. Whoops. Default. There's probably no need for me to extract it to a variable. I think the only reason I extracted it in Objective-C was to make it, maybe to keep it from indenting a whole lot. But let's just continue. I'll try to be very literal here. Post notification name object user info. There we go. So this one. All right. So the name. This is where we're going to start running into problems. Not problems, challenges. is that that doesn't exist. Object, I'm just going to make this empty and this also empty. So here's our first real challenge. Ah, not a challenge at all if it's going to rename it for me. Oh, nice. Let me just do that up. Okay, so the name, the object is the view controller to present, which, Let me get its name properly. We'll worry about other things later. Okay, so far so good. And now user info with some keys. Seems to recognize that. And this is going to be flag. The reason the name disappeared is because of Swift format. So schlooped it away and said, you're not actually using this yet. Colon flag. And finally, colon, closure container. Like that. I like a comma on the end. Okay, so it builds. No idea if it's accessible from Obj-C yet. Let's find out. But first, I'm going to say lay down the guts, not yet called. Now, let's see if we can't call this. So this is potentially write the Swift version. We don't really know if it's successful yet. Let's say it's done because we are moving on to try to switch to calling it. Even though there, it's prettier. Okay, switch to calling it. So now let's go over to our code here. And here's the question. How do I call it? I think I'm going to have to expose it as like that. Let's see if we can't get at it. So self view control. There it is. Awful name. But let's see if we can't just slap in the things. And comment out this one. So here's our switch. Will it work? There's A great way to find out. But something went wrong. Oh, an analysis. Okay, here's a problem. Here's where app code falls short. There is an analysis problem, and I can't see it. Like I don't... Ah, here's how to see it. So I see it by... this is me learning how to get around. By saying, you know what, show me the full build log. Okay, so that lets me see there's no visible interface for UI ViewController that declares that. Is that because I need to import it? I bet I need to slap it. Maybe I need to slap it into... ViewController presentation spy Swift. Wouldn't that automatically have the automatically generated thing? Okay. This is now where I pull up Xcode. Whoop. I have to go into the Swift sample. Pull up Xcode. Change the theme so that you can see it. No, what I thought I was going to do was look at the generated API. And maybe I still should. How do I do that again? I don't remember. I've only done this once before? Was it... there we go. So I did Control, Command, up arrow. Internal. There we go. I think that's the problem. It can't find it. So let me... wow, I'm cycling between all the things. That's pretty cool. Okay, point for Xcode. Let's make it public. There we go. All right, now let's go back here and see if we can't get this to run. Hey, all right. Success. We've laid down where we are switching to the new version. Now this is a test-supported procedural refactoring that I feel good about. So now it gets a plain old R. All right, so now I can remove the old one. This one is done. This is turning out all right. I wonder if there was anything in our earlier work over the weeks that we've done this, with your help, especially at the beginning. Oh my gosh, there was so many problems with like, why doesn't this thing work? And we beat our heads against the wall. But I wonder if this wouldn't have been a helpful technique even earlier to say, take only part of a function, a method, and extract it. Right? So this is the discovery today, is to say, I want to rewrite this whole thing in Swift, but don't. It's kind of long. Instead, I want to rewrite this much in Swift. And to do that, I did an extract. Then, but the extract narrowed the change. It limited the blast radius, as it were. Then we can do the switch of usual parallel change. And now I can get rid of this, the safe delete, as well as here. This will still pass. Delete the Obj-C notification. And now I can rename this hideous thing. I don't know if it'll let me. Yeah. Let's look at it and let me think about, what is it actually doing? This is really, it's the thing to send information about an alert. Send alert info. That's better. Did it change it over here? It did. Send alert info with ViewController to present. Well, I'm not going to worry about the horrible long-windedness of Objective-C. That's just the nature of Objective-C. All right, so that takes care of removing the 2 from the method name. Oh, I've done this. So that's green. I'm doing this, but I haven't integrated it yet. And this was an automated rename, so lowercase r. Yeah, it's going to move anyway, so why bother worrying about it? And probably after everything moves, I'm going to have a chance to go through and rename and make things nicer inside of Swiftland. So rename the Swift version no more too. All right, so this is done. And that means this is done. Ta-da! I noted that in the physical version of Discovery Tree, the habit is to delete anything that is a whole layer that is complete. But that may not be absolutely necessary in a virtual one. Let me just pull these over here, because it might still be useful to say, I realized, like, what steps did we do for that? Instead of throwing it away. So as an experiment this time, let me just leave it there in green. All right. 12:05, we've gone for a full hour now, but this has been pretty nice. It seems like a good place to break before we start this, even though these things are probably going to be somewhat small. Even if you don't see it, I think you get the idea of this new pattern, this discovery. Right, now there's less to convert. Isn't that wonderful? Because this is in Swift. This is also in Swift, so that'll be easy. Rick didn't like the idea of throwing the row away. Yeah. So let's leave it there. I just saw one of our other coaches share the trees plural that they made with a client. And the way they did that was to have, instead of having like one ginormous tree, to break it out in sections. So for example, using this as an example, we might say, oh shoot, let's just have an alert verifier tree, maybe like a subtree, and we'll create a separate area for it, because there's no real limit. On a virtual whiteboard, we can create areas. We're not going to run out of space. So this is a good thing. I think this will be a good discovery going forward. We've learned a new pattern. We're trying a new way of manipulating the tree. Good times, y'all. I think that's it then for this session. Thanks for joining. Smooth compared to the early days, isn't it, Mudshark? Oh my gosh. Seriously. I may have to go back and look at some of those early ones just to remember some of the pain that we endured. And thanks to help from you and others, managed to get through. And let's see, is there anything else to say? So I'll come on and try a Monday evening for you, most of you folks. Monday morning for me, but an hour earlier than usual. Let's try that. All right. And if you can join. If you can't, no worries. It'll be still good. Hopefully it will let folks, the goal of the experiment, an experiment should always have a goal, right? The goal is to see if it might be more hospitable for folks from India. All right. Thank you for joining. If you happen to be watching this on YouTube, welcome. Glad to have you. Do give it a like if you've watched this far, and subscribe and hit the bell for all the good notifications whenever I post something new. See you around. Take care. Be safe. Be close to your loved ones. Because death sucks, but life is good. All right? Take care, friends.